All right. All right. Mic check. You hear me?
Con, mic check, mic check.
Let's go ahead and get started. Con, I hear you. I hear you. All right. So we'll start by giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, and we do so in the name of His begotten Son, Yahweh Shah Hamashiach, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, who was indeed a black man. All right. So today, man, we got the powerful war dog Azan, right? And as y'all see, man, we Space City, we back. We back here to bring out some more edification through the spirit and just just edification, right? So y'all see the title, right? The church replaces Israel in prophecies, replacement theology explained, right? So tonight we're going to talk about replacement theology, or another term for it is supersessionism, right? Which is basically the idea of the multi-ethnic church now has replaced the physical Israelites, or the physical Israel. So Israel, all the promises, all of the covenants, all of the blessings that Israel was supposed to have are now going to the church, or specifically the multi-ethnic church, right? That is replacement theology in a nutshell. So we're going to look at it. We're going to see what it is. We're going to look at the definition. Um, we're going to go through some precepts to see if the Bible lines up with the definition of replacement theology and with the common thought of it, right? Azan, you want to say anything before we started?
Nah, all praise to the Most High.
God, all praise to the Most High, right? So let's get started, right? We're gonna start off, right? So first, whenever because a lot of these terms, I know, especially to you guys that are new in the faith, um, a lot of things aren't really explained as to what they are, right? So the whole reason why we're going over replacement theology, and it's probably gonna take like two, I hope not three classes, but the reason why we're going to this is because whenever you have conversations with your family, or smoke, or perhaps you talk with a pastor or something, right? Majority of folks believe in replacement theology, whether they know it or not, because Christians don't even know their doctrine, right? So it's important to understand what it is, because the same verses that Christians will go to prove salvation for everybody, and to prove everyone can be saved, it's the same verses that people who adhere to replacement theology uses. Okay. So we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna we're gonna we're gonna do a deep dive, right? So Zon, if you can read down to Israelites as the people of God, and that'll be fine.
Con. So this is in Wikipedia. Definition of supersessionism, also called replacement theology, is a Christian theological doctrine which describes the theological conviction that the Christian church has superseded the nation of Israel, assuming the role as God's covenanted people, thus asserting that the new covenant through Jesus Christ has superseded or replaced the Mosaic covenant exclusive to Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
It says supersessionist theory also holds that the universal Christian church has replaced ancient Israel as God's true Israel, and that Christians, including Gentiles, have replaced the biological bloodline of ancient Israelites as the people of God.
Right. So that is supersessionism, or replacement theology in a nutshell, right? So the church now assumes Israel's role as being the Most High's covenanted people, right? Which is madness. So basically, now the church is the elect. The elect are Gentiles now. They're people that the Most High never looked at as His people, which is madness, right? And the Bible doesn't support that. So I don't got to get on the screen. Mazan, give me Romans 11 and 28. Right. let's see if if replacement theology, which Christians they say that it started with Paul. Paul is the originator of this whole theological idea that the church has now replaced Israel, right? Christians they do Paul dirty and wrong. So let's first see if Paul agrees with that, right? Let's see if Israel is now replaced by the church by the words of who they deem started all this, right? Go ahead, Azan.
This is the book of Romans 11, verse 28.
Mm-hmm.
As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes.
Right, and when you look at that verse contextually, matter of fact, start at verse just so we can get the context. Start at 26.
Verse 26, it says, and so all Israel shall be
Mhm.
saved.
Right. So the context here is so all Israel shall be saved. Israel is the subject. Keep reading.
As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and
Mm-hmm.
shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins.
Yep.
As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes.
Mm-hmm.
But as
Keep on.
touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes.
And the whole concept or the context is Israel. So he's saying, hey, and specifically it's talking about those Israelites who were denying Christ, who didn't believe in the Messiah. But he's saying, hey, concerning that gospel, concerning when it comes to Christ, yeah, they're enemies for your sake because they believe that you're speaking heresy, right? But as touching the election, Paul is saying, hey, they're still elect, they're still beloved of the Father. If replacement theology was, something that he was preaching, Paul wouldn't have said this, man. Paul
Mhm.
wouldn't have said this.
Praise up.
Well, hold on. Are okay? So they want the verses. Let me put the verses on the screen. Hold
Come.
on. Bear with me. I'll put it on there. Mighty brother Kawhi, man. Shalom. Shalom. Y'all may not know the brother, but all of them mighty Space City edits, man. Hey man, that's the man right there. That's the man. He's the man behind the camera, right? So yeah, go ahead, Azan. Read verse 28.
It says, Romans 11 and 28, as
Mm-hmm.
concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes, but as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sakes.
So Paul is saying that Israel is still the elect of the Most High, right? Read the next verse, because then he doubles down on it, right?
It says, for the gifts and the calling of God are without repentance.
They're without repentance, meaning God isn't taking away anything from Israel. So the whole notion of this replacement theology, this supersessionism, it doesn't jive with the Bible. It doesn't jive with the man who is supposed to have coined the whole theological idea. Matter of fact, look what it says in the ESV. Read verse 29, Azan.
Romans 11:29 ESV, for the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable.
Irrevocable. Right? What is this word irrevocable? What is this? Not able to be changed, reversed, or recovered, right? So the Bible, specifically Paul, who's the Christian's Messiah, is literally saying the gifts and calling of God are not changeable. They're not changeable. That one verse alone just completely destroyed supersessionism. That one verse. He's saying that the callings and gifts of God are never going to change at all. Right? As long as you had something, thought you had a precept.
Con. Yeah, I was just going to get verse 1.
Come
Uh,
on.
Romans 11, verse 1, King James. Or you got it in the ESV? I can read it
No, I'll
either way.
change.
Right,
Go
just
ahead.
for context. It says, Romans 11 and 1, I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid, for I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin.
Look at that, man. Matter of fact, keep reading.
It says, God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. What ye not
Mhm.
what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession of God against Israel, saying.
So if supersessionism or replacement theology is in fact biblical and is correct, that disproves this verse. This verse can't be true. Paul is literally saying God has not cast away his people. The whole premise of this theology, theology, I can't say that motherfucker, but the whole premise of replacement theology is that Israel is casted away so that God can now graft in the church, but it doesn't line up with the scriptures, right? So let's
Con.
go back. Let's go back to, or actually, before we do that, right? Because the article mentioned how Jesus Christ has superseded or replaced the Mosaic covenant exclusive to the Jews. So all of the covenants, the old and the new, are supposed to go to the church. And what they use to prove that is Jeremiah 31. 31 and 31 to be exact, right? Which is madness. Because we go here to prove that the new covenant is only for Israel, but true adherents to supersessionism, they go here to prove it, right? So Zon, read 31 and 32.
Con. This is Jeremiah 31 and verse 31. It
Mm-hmm.
says, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can zoom in. It says, verse 32, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord.
Right. Now, what they would say is that the fathers that left Egypt are now their fathers because they have been grafted in, right? That's the talking points. It's madness, right? They'll literally say Jeremiah 31 and 32 is talking about the church. And then whenever you ask them, okay, well, when did the church's fathers leave Egypt? They'll say, oh, well, the church is now grafted into Israel, so those are our spiritual fathers now. When the text don't say that, especially whenever you go up and it says, I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So which one are you? You know what I'm saying? If you are, if now all of these, the promises and the covenant is to the church, well, is the church the house of Israel or is the church the house of Judah? Like, it's so many questions. But what they'll do is they'll take Jeremiah 31 and then they'll precept it with, of course, Hebrews 8 and 8. Sounding real familiar. The same precepts we use, Christians take and they twist the hell out of it, right? But here's something that you all have to know, okay? Any Old Testament quotes that are in the New Testament, right, that you read, they come from the Greek Septuagint. They don't come from the Masoretic text that the your Old Testament is mainly based off of. They go from the Greek Septuagint, right? And it's important because we're about to compare Jeremiah 31 and verses 31 to 32 and Hebrews chapter 8 verse 8 and verse 9. It's quoting Jeremiah 31, but there's a major difference. And this difference is what the Christians use to prove replacement theology, right? So Zon, go ahead, read verse 8 and verse 9.
This is Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. It says, For finding fault with them, he said, Behold, the days come, said the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. It says, Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in a day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the hand of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, said the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Right. So they say, well, this verse says because the Lord said that Israel continued not in his covenant, and he regarded them not, right? So that means now the covenants is for everybody, right? But when you go back and you look at Jeremiah 31 in verse 2, it says, although I was an husband unto them. But Hebrews says, and I regarded them not. Right? So these two verses, they're different. And why they are different is because you're reading from two different manuscripts. So what you're reading here is from the Masoretic text. So when it says, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, meanwhile, the Greek Septuagint says, because they continue not in my covenant and I regarded them not. And even starts off by saying, for finding fault with them, right? He said, behold, the days come, said the Lord. So Christians, they'll take this and they would twist it and they'll misconstrue it because they don't even know that it's from two different texts. Now, when you here's something interesting, right? When you go to Jeremiah 32, okay, and you look at the word for husband, is Baal, right? Let's look at this word. All right, see if I can play it.
Strong's H 1166. Baal.
Baal,
Baal.
right? Which means to marry, rule over, right? To be married, husband, right? But when you look at the word uh, poor, let's look at this word abhor, right? Oh, where'd you go? Leviticus 26 and 11. Let's look at this. Abhor, right? Is Gaal. So you have Baal and you have Gaal, right? So Gaal,
Strong's H 1602. Gaal.
Gael,
Gaal.
right? It looks similar, it sounds similar, but what does this mean? It says to abhor, to loathe, to vilely cast away, right? And this right here fits more so along with Hebrews 8 and 8, right? So whenever you look at the Hebrew, and that's one of the reasons why our people hated the Greek translation so much, right? The words are similar. So it's highly probable that it's a translation error because the words are so similar. You just seen it, right? Here is Gaal. Then we go back. And here is Baal. It's similar, right? So that's something that you gotta be weary of because a Christian, they'll play games with you. Christians don't follow the laws of God, so they're gonna lie to you. they're going to lie to you, right? So let's go back to well, actually, one last thing because they say that the Most High is giving His covenant away to the church, right? But we got a problem with that. Azan, give me Leviticus 26 and 42. We got a problem with that because the Most High said that He will never break His covenant with Israel. If the Most High gives His covenant to the multi-ethnic church and is no longer to Israel, guess what? He just broke the covenant because nowhere in the covenant did He say He was going to give it to another group of people, right? So go ahead, Azan, read verse 42.
This is Leviticus 26, verse 42.
Mm-hmm.
Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land.
And I remember the land, right? So where is Israel now being replaced? Where is the multi-ethnic church? We don't see that in scriptures, right? So let's go back to the article. Let me.
And that was a powerful point you made with Hebrews. That's a problem with a lot of Hebrew Israelite Christians as well. You know, they would hold to the book of Hebrews like it's the word of God. when, I mean, the word of God is infallible. You know, that just to add that part.
And you know, that's why we had these classes, right? Because people don't, most people, we're talking Christians, Israelites, Israelite Christians, right? Muslims, most people don't know key but minute facts, which are such as Old Testament quotes in the New Testament are from the Greek Septuagint, which means what? Hey, man, the Greek Septuagint had some errors. They had a lot of translation errors when they translated that into that BS Greek, and it was raps. That's why people mourn for that translation, right?
Uh-huh.
So go ahead, read this part right here.
Con. It says, often claimed by later Christians to have originated with Paul the Apostle in the New Testament, supersessionism has formed a core tenet of Eastern Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and Protestant churches for the
Hmm.
majority of their history.
Now I want to say, right? So for those of y'all who don't know, uh, just think back to eighth grade history, right? Protestants, the Protestants is where you get your Baptists, where you get your Pentecostals, where you get your Seventh Day Adventists, right? Your Methodists, all of those sects of Christianity are classified under Protestant. So your average Christian that you're going to run into in America, 9 out of 10 are going to be Protestant, right? And a lot of Protestant people or people who are in this denomination, even non-denomination would fit under Protestant, right? A lot of those people, they agree with this doctrine. This is the doctrine that they follow, or I'll say this is the doctrine they've been taught and they regurgitate, right? Keep reading.
It says many early church fathers, including Justin Martyr and
Mhm.
Augustine of Hippo, were supersessionists.
With supersession right? And the crazy thing is, Augustine of Hippo, man, he was an Israelite. He was a so-called black man, right? Now he was bugged the hell out because he believed in this. But you know, and that's just another point what people don't know. A lot of these ideologies, right? Like replacement theology, like the Trinity. It was actually our people that coined them. It wasn't the white man. It was actually our people, you know, people who just had misunderstandings. But now that knowledge is increasing in these last days, we know the actual truth of the Bible, right? So let's see. So one thing that article mentioned or is constantly mentioning, especially when it comes to replacement theology, is this idea of the church. So they don't believe supersessionists. They don't believe that uh, the church is a Old Testament concept. They believe that the church is a new entity, that the church originated in the New Testament, right? And they use Matthew 16. Give me Matthew 16 and verse 18, right? Just to show you why people who hold to this tenets believe that the church is new. They take what Christ said in Matthew 8 16, let me put the red letter, to say that, oh, this is Christ saying that Peter's going to have a new church, and that is the church that replaced Israel, right? So read verse 18 up.
This is Matthew 16, verse 18, red letter.
Mhm.
And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.
So they say, boom, right there was the establishment or the alluding to the multi-ethnic church, to the church that is going to replace Israel, right? That there was not a church before Matthew chapter 16. That's false, man. That's false. Azan, you probably already know where I'm about to go from here, right?
But Acts,
Acts chapter 7, man. Let's see if the church is a New Testament concept, because we can see the church in the Old Testament. Then that means, well, wait a minute, when we see the church in the New Testament, it's talking about a specific group of people, not the whole world, right?
come,
So go ahead, give me that in verse 38.
come.
Actually, give me, start from verse 37 into verse 38.
This is Acts 7, verse 37. It
Mm-hmm.
says, This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, a
Hmm.
prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me, him shall ye hear.
So the context is this, man, is the Most High speaking to Moses. Moses and the children of Israel being in the wilderness. We see this all the way back in Numbers. Keep reading.
It says, this is he that was in the church in the
Hmm.
wilderness with the angel which spake to him at Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us.
So wait a minute, right? Because this is Stephen here in Acts chapter 7. He's saying that there was a church in the wilderness. And the church that was in the wilderness, they received lively oracles at Mount Sinai. Come on, man. Come on, man. So now just the fundamentals of this doctrine of replacement theology is null and void, right? It's null and void. So, and she said, well, I thought, yeah, sister, our body is the church, but we're talking about the concept of a church, right? Because they'll say that the concept of our bodies being a church, the concept of a church in general did not exist prior to Matthew chapter 13. So when you go to Acts chapter 7 and verse 38, we see that there was a church in the wilderness with Moses. So when we look at the doctrine of replacement theology, it literally says that the church is a new entity. It's not a new entity. It's not. According to Acts chapter 7, verse 37 and verse 38, there was a church that was in the wilderness with Moses when he received the commandments of God. And who was that church? That was Israelites. All 12 tribes, man. That is the church that the New Testament is constantly referencing. When Christ said, hey, upon this rock, you're going to build my church. Why is that? Because Peter became the head of the church. Peter was the one in charge of the apostles going out and spreading the message. That's why I say, hey, you're going to build my church. Because before that, especially during the time of the Greeks, man, our people was living like Greeks. Our people were heathen at the time. So that is the church that was getting built, right? So next, we're gonna watch a quick little video, right? And it's going to talk a little bit more about the doctrine of this replacement theology, kind of just sum up everything that we said before we move on to quote unquote scriptures that prove replacement theology, right? So let me start this.
International, and I am
Right. And then Azan, let me know if there's any any issues while playing it, right? Now, of course, this is a damn devil, right? Of course. But I like how he explains replacement theology, right? And he's a you know, a guy who wears many hats, right? He wears many hats, okay? So he kind of has a problem with this doctrine because honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. Replacement theology is anti-Semitic as hell. You're
That's
literally
right.
telling me that God's chosen people, right? Shemites, specifically Hebrews, specifically Israelites, are now no longer his people, and the whole rest of the world are now his people. That's anti-Semitic. I ain't even gonna lie, right? So we're gonna see what this guy has to say about it. You know what I'm saying? I like because he gets on it, man. He gets on them, right? So Zon, let me know if there's any issues or anything like that. All right.
Con.
actually here to answer the great questions that you've been submitting on social media. Love those questions coming in, and here's another one.
Oh, by the way, fair use, fair use, fair use. Our thoughts, comments on this video, fair use, fair use, fair use.
That I got. Dear Rabbi Jack, I attend a church where my pastor teaches that the covenant God once made with the Jewish people is no longer binding because of their sins. He, the pastor, says that the church has become the new Israel. Rabbi, what do you say? Well, the first thing I say is your pastor has picked up on like some really bad teachings. What he believes, there's actually a term for it. The theological term is called supersessionism. It's also known as replacement theology. And the idea behind it is this. Well, yeah, you know, a long time ago, God said to the Jews in Israel, he said, listen, you guys are my chosen people, and my covenant promises to bless you are for everlasting. But then, supposedly, when Israel sinned, like, this took God totally by surprise. It's as if God said, you know, I made this covenant with you, but then you Jews fell into disobedience. I mean, man, if I knew that they were going to sin, I never would have given them this everlasting covenant with them in the first place. But how was I supposed to know? I mean, who do you think I am? God or something? So, now you Jews, now that you've surprised me, you've left me no choice but to remove my covenant blessings from you and transfer those blessings to the nice and always obedient church, to where the church is my new Israel now, and you Jews, well, you're just kind of like, meh. And that's replacement theology. On average, more than 6 out of 10 churches in North America believe some form of replacement theology. But, surprise, it's not biblical. And actually, you know, if you read your Bible even a little bit, it shouldn't be a surprise. In fact, it should be blatantly obvious that this is heresy. And here's a couple of reasons why replacement theology needs to be replaced. First, in Romans 3:23, the scriptures tell us that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Now listen, just to be precise here, I went back to the original Greek of the word all to make sure that it meant everybody. And get ready for this. In the original language, the word all means all. So all of us have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And if that's the case and we're all equally bad, think about it. Why would God remove his covenant blessings from one group of sinful people if all he's going to do with those blessings is bestow them upon, drum roll please, okay, that was great, another group of equally sinful people? It doesn't make any sense. Do you really have to be a Bible scholar to figure that one?
You on mute, bro.
Hey, and that right there, you know, this devil here, man, he makes a good point. He makes a great point, right? If replacement theology means that God took away the blessings and covenants from Israel because of sin, and he gave it to the Gentiles now. Well, wait a minute. The Gentiles are just as sinful. So he has a great point, man. That is a great point when it comes to this doctrine, right? It doesn't make sense if the reason why the promises was taken from Israel was because of sin, and now he's putting it on the multi-ethnic church, where the church would tell you all the time, "I'm a sinner." They love telling you how they're a sinner. Well, wait, if you're a sinner, why did God take the blessings from one sinful people and give it to another sinful people? It doesn't make sense, man. All right, let's get back to it.
Now, that should tell you this is wrong right off the bat. Second, you know what absolutely drives me nuts? It's when the Bible settles an issue, which the Bible did on this. 2,000 years ago, this issue was settled. And then here we are all this time later saying, let's bring up this issue because we need to settle it. Folks, the argument about replacement theology is long over. For example, in Romans 11:1, in the first part of verse 2, Paul says, I ask then, did God reject his people, his Jewish people? And then Paul answers the question. He says, by no means. Or in our language today, what Paul is really saying is, come on, are you nuts? I am an Israelite myself, he continues, a descendant from Abraham from the tribe of Benjamin. God did not reject his people whom he foreknew. In other words, God knew that the Israelites were going to go and sin, and yet despite that, he made a covenant with Israel. If you believe in replacement theology, you're suggesting that Israel's sin took God by surprise. But the Bible never says that God's covenant with Israel was temporary. Over and over, it uses the term everlasting. And last I checked, in whatever language it is, everlasting is like a real long time. Another great rebuttal to replacement theology is found in Jeremiah 31, verses 35 and 36. Here's what the verses say. The Lord says, he who appoints the sun to shine by day and decrees the moon and the stars to shine by night, who stirs up the sea so that its waves roar The Lord Almighty is his name. And only if these decrees vanish from my sight, declares the Lord, will Israel ever cease being a nation before me. Okay, that's a lot. So let me give you the simple translation of it. It's God saying, okay, so you think I've replaced Israel? You really, really think I've removed my covenant blessings from them? Tell you what, here's how to tell if that's what I really did. I'll give you a sign. If you wake up tomorrow and the sun no longer shines, and at night you look and you no longer see the moon and the stars shining at night, they're all gone. Well, there you go. There's your cue. Israel's toast. She's done. It's that simple, people. Okay, one last one, and this is what I call a closed door verse against replacement theology. Just try discrediting this one. It's in Zechariah chapter 8, verse 23. It says in that verse that in the last days, 10 men from the nations will grab the hem of a garment of a Jew and say to that Jewish person, let us go with you, Jewish person, because we know that God is with you. Whoa! No, the verse doesn't say whoa. I said whoa. How can anyone possibly believe that God is no longer with the Jewish people when right there in Zechariah, God says, excuse me, but yeah, I am, and I always will be. And for you 6 out of 10 church pastors, check out the Jewish olive tree in Romans 11, because like the last I checked, the root still supports you and not the other way around. Hope you enjoyed that. Keep those great questions.
Hey man, listen. One thing about them small hats, man. Don't let them fool you. They believe the same thing we do. They know. That's why when we get to talking and bringing this book out and saying how we're above all nations, they just stare at us because they believe the same thing, right? Let me
Right.
not talk too much about them. You know,
Right.
that's a touchy subject, right?
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, man, he made some good points. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he made some good points. Replacement theology, it does not align with the Bible for many different reasons. Even him himself, he went to Romans 11, right? He went to Romans 11, and the same verse. I didn't even know Zion was going to pull that, right? But that right there it's cutthroat. And then even when he talked about the olive tree, right? When you go when you look at the branches, it literally says, not the branches, the roots. The roots are literally Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Mm.
What do we do with that?
Mm.
Right.
He got the breakdown.
Yeah, hey, man, this devil don't got to break that.
He at least know more than a lot of these Christians, man.
Yeah, he do though. I'll say that. I'll say that. Right. I'll say that. Right. So now that we know, or at least got a basis of what replacement theology is, right? Let's look at verses that quote unquote prove it, right? Because these are verses that we have to be familiar with. And a lot of these verses, you wouldn't even know that they're technically replacement theology verses because people bring this out all the time trying to save the white man. I mean the heathen, right? So let's first look at one that's just asinine. I don't know if y'all saw the debate with myself and Oz Gadar, right? But this guy made the same point, right? And what is it? Caleb's an Edomite. They say that Caleb is an he was the first spiritual Israel, showcasing how Israelite can change from a heathen to an actual I'm sorry, a heathen can change to an actual Israelite, right? So Azan, give me Numbers 32 and 12. All right, let's tackle this.
This is the book of Numbers 32 and verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
It says, save Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, the Kenizzite,
Mm-hmm.
and Joshua, the son of Nun, for they have wholly followed the Lord.
Now, people go here and they'll say, well, you know, Caleb, he's an Edomite because his father is a Kenizzite, and the Kenizzites were Edomites. So let's look at this, right? Excuse me. And I just want y'all to know, anybody who says that Caleb is an Edomite, they worship the white man. They full-heartedly believe in white supremacy, and I'm gonna show you why. Right. So first, let's look at this. Let's look at Kenizzite. Right, a Kenizzite or descendant of Kenaz. All right, so let's look at Kenaz. Right, so they would say Genesis 15 and 19. Right, let's look at it. It's the same word for Kenizzite. Let's look at this. Hazan, give me Genesis 15 and 19, but start at verse 18.
Genesis 15, verse 18, it
Mhm.
says, "In the same day the Lord Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates."
Mm-hmm.
It says, "The Kenites and the Kenizzites."
Mm. Whoa. Yeah, keep reading. Keep reading.
It says, "And the Cadmonites,
Mm-hmm.
Hittites."
Now,
Mhm.
here, right, we got Kenites and we got Canaanites, right? So wait a minute. If you're a Canaanite and you're telling me Canaanites are Edomites, who are these Canaanites here? Right? This is Abraham. This is Abraham's time. Esau isn't even born yet. Right? So who are these Canaanites? Oh, they're Hamites. That's what these are. Right? Let's prove it. Canaanites. Goodness. Look at this. South Canaanitish people. Genesis 15 and 19, right? So I said, if people say that Caleb is an Edomite, they worship the white man, it's because there's Hamitic Canaanites too. So why can't Caleb be a Hamite? Why doesn't nobody say, oh, well, Caleb was a Hamite, so all nations can be saved? They don't do that. They say Caleb it was an Edomite because they want the white man to be saved, man. That's bad Bible, right? But that's not the only time we see Canaanites, right? Give me Genesis 36 and 11. Right? So we already seen Hamite Canaanites, right? Now let's go to where they say it's Esau.
Genesis 36, verse 11. And
Mm-hmm.
the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz.
And Kenaz, right? And this is the sons of Esau, right? These are the names of Esau's sons, right? So that's what they'll say. Oh, Caleb is an Edomite because his father was a Canaanite, and the Canaanites come from Esau, but they don't mention the Hamites, right? But there's also a third Canaanite. So let's look and see where we see another Canaanite. All right, let's see if this one is the one that Caleb comes from. Read. Go ahead, read verse 15. First Chronicles 4 and 15.
This is First Chronicles chapter 4, verse 15. It says, "And the sons of Caleb, the sons of Jephunneh, Iru, Elah, and Naam, and the sons of Elah, even Kenaz."
Whoa, even Kenaz, right? So which Kenaz does Caleb come from? Right now, when you go to the top of this in First Chronicles chapter 4 and verse 1, it says the sons of Judah. And then when you go all the way down to verse 15, it lists Kenaz. So we have a Hamitic Kenaz, we have a Edomite Kenaz, and we have a Judite or Israelite Kenaz. Which one you think Caleb is from? Right? Which one you think he's from? Matter of fact, Hassan, give me Numbers 13 and 6, right? Because the Bible tells you where he's from or which Kenaz he descends from. So let's see if it's the Edomite Kenaz, or let's see if it's the Hamite Kenaz, or let's see if it's the Judite Kenaz, right? Read verse 6.
This is Numbers 13, verse 6. It says, of the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh.
Come on, man. Come on, man. So how did a heathen replace an Israelite to become said Israelite? That didn't happen. Caleb wasn't Israelite. He wasn't spiritual. He did not replace himself in the covenant people. That's false, right? What's another place people go? What about Rahab, right? Rahab the harlot. People say Rahab the harlot. She became a spiritual Israel, right? She fits into Old Testament precedents for replacement theology. Well, let's see, right? Let's see. Zon, give me Joshua 6 and 25.
Joshua 6, verse 25.
Mm-hmm.
And Joshua saved Rahab the harlot alive in her father's household, and all that she had, and she dwelt in Israel even to this day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho.
Right. And so they'll say, well, Rahab became an Israelite because she dwelt with Israel. Just because somebody dwells with us does not make them an Israelite. It does not make them the covenant people. We had many heathens with us when we was in the land. Some were servants, some were slaves. Some was just there, right? Hell, King Saul, he had a Edomite servant that was high in his army, high ranking. What was it? Doeg?
Mm-hmm.
Doeg, right? He was an Edomite, but that doesn't make him an Israelite. Just like here in Rahab, that doesn't make Rahab an Israelite. Rahab was a harlot, man. She is what you would call back in the day, or what you call now, a hoe. That's what the Bible refers to Rahab as, a hoe, not as an Israelite, right? And every time you see Rahab, they have to mention that she's a hoe. Right? Go to give me Hebrews 11 and 31.
I got
Right.
precept.
Let's see in the New Testament if the concept of being spiritual Israel is so relevant, right? They should be calling Rahab an Israelite. They should be calling Rahab a Judite, right? Or a Jewish woman, right? Let's see. Read verse 31.
Hebrews 11 and verse 31. It says, by faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace.
When she had received the spies with peace. So when you go back to Joshua, was that Joshua chapter 6, right? When you read the story, she sold her people out. How she got saved? She sold her people out. She sold her people out, gave them up, betrayed them, and then got down with the Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you wanna say that's how you become spiritual Israel, then hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to betray your race and betray your people, just so you can get down with the Israelites, right? Good golly, hey, go ahead, man. If you're an Edomite and you wanna be a so-called Israelite now, betray all your folks. Turn your back on your race. That's what you got to do. According to replacement theology. According to replacement theology, if you want to be a spiritual Israelite like Rahab, one of the things you got to do is forsake your people. Come on, man. What are we doing?
Precept.
Con, what you got?
It's a quick one in Deuteronomy 23 and 17.
Con, go ahead.
It says, there shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor sodomite of the sons of Israel.
Come on, man. Why, if Rahab was an Israelite, why do they keep calling her a hoe? They keep calling her a harlot. Why? when in the law there should be no whores of the daughter of Israel. If she became an Israelite, the harlot title should have got dropped immediately. And yet, even in the New Testament, she's still referred to as a harlot, as a hoe, as a thought. She's literally what one of the first thoughts of the Bible. Now she repented. Well, I ain't even gonna say she repented, but like I said, she betrayed her people. She betrayed her people to get down with us. That's why we gave her reverence, because she believed in the God of Israel. She just heard that Egypt just got messed up, and here the same people that left Egypt and messed them up, and now they're trying to come to my city. Yeah, let me get down with the get down. Let me get down with them. That's what she did. That doesn't make her an Israelite, though, right? Right. So what's who else do they say proves spiritual Israel or proves replacement theology, right? Who? Ruth.
Ruth, yeah.
Ruth. Come on, Azan, you heard these arguments before.
Man.
Caleb was an Edomite. Rahab got salvation. Oh, but Ruth said that she'll be her people is now her mother-in-law's people is now her people, right? That's what they say. So let's look at it. Give me Ruth 1 and 22. Because they like to go to Ruth to say that this shows grafting in of the Gentiles, right? And that's just false. That's you can't read. I believe last class, I said that whenever you become a Christian, it's like you got to take your reading comprehension and just chunk it out the window. All those years that the white man forced you to go to school, and he forced you to learn his language, he forced you to know how to read his language and write his language. You're supposed to take that, throw it out the window, and just be blind, mindless sheep when you read this book. No, them days are over. You Black and Hispanics, Native Americans, them days are over, right? And the Most High has blessed you to be able to understand his word. We're going to understand it. We're going to read it, and we're going to dive into it, right? So go ahead, I'll read verse 22.
Ruth 1, verse 22. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest.
Right. Now it says Ruth the Moabitess. That's what the text says. Ruth the Moabitess. Now it doesn't say Ruth the Moabite-ish. It says Moabitess, which is just the female way of saying Moabite. Don't believe me? Let's prove it. All right. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. So this is Moabitess. You look it up. It says Moab. What are we doing? A citizen of Moab, an inhabitant of the land of Moab. Right? What are we doing? Translated as Moabitess, Moab, Moabitish, 1 time. Moabite, 7 times. Moabitess, 6 times. Right? Where am I looking? Look at this. Look at this. So we got a Moabite or Moabitess, i.e., a descendant from Moab, then has parentheses, woman. Right? When you look at the lexicon, it says feminine singular as adjectives, and then it gives you all the verses, and it says especially the feminine singular as adjective, especially Ruth 1 and 22. She's a Moabite. The Bible still calls her a Moabite. What are we doing? Right? And then I like all of this reading into the text, this eisegesis, this well she could possibly be Israel because she assimilated herself with the people. That don't matter. The Bible calls her a Moabite. The Bible doesn't call her Israelite. The Bible doesn't call her a Judite. The Bible calls her a Moabite, which is not Israel. So again, replacement theology does not align with the Bible. You don't see it in the Bible at all. And this is just the Old Testament. Right? Matter of fact, look at this. Look at this. Let's go back to this verse. Let's go back to the verse, right? Look at this. Look at what it says in the NLT. It says, so Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by her daughter-in-law Ruth, the young Moabite woman. Azan, what we do with this, man?
That's plain.
That's that's plain. Where do you get that she's a spiritual Israelite? Or am I bugging? It don't seem like it. You got two witnesses right here, man. And all the people that's watching this. It says she was a young Moabite woman. Where do you get she's spiritually Israel now? It does not jive, right? It doesn't jive. So that's just a few examples or quote unquote examples that people will go to show, well, we see replacement happening in the Old Testament. It happened with Caleb, it happened with Rahab, it happened with Ruth. No, it did not. No, it didn't, man. So what they'll do now is grossly use the text to try to prove their doctrine, right? So they'll go to certain scriptures, which we'll go to. Zon, give me Psalms, what is it? 87. Right? We're gonna go to some key chapters and verses that they use for replacement theology and ultimately salvation. You know what I'm saying? Like replacement theology is just an in-depth, I guess you can say, salvation. That's it, right? Who can be saved, right? So go ahead and read from verse 4 to verse 7.
This is Psalms 87, verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
It says, I will make mention of Rahab in Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia, this man was born there.
Now, all of these are heathens, right? All of these are heathen. That's the context, right? Keep on.
And of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her, and the highest himself shall establish her.
Salakiak, where you at?
5.
Oh, you at 5 now? Okay, con.
Keep going.
Are you in the same translation?
87. Yeah, I'm in King James.
In verse 5? I guess just start back from verse 5.
Yes. For some reason, I don't think that's the King James.
No? Hold on, let me refresh. There we go. Start back from the top, verse 4.
Psalms 87 and 4 says, I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia, this man was born there.
Right, and all these are heathens, right? Keep on.
And of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her, and the highest himself shall establish her.
So it says, and of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her. What man? Oh, the heathens. It says this man was born there. Born where? Born in Zion, right? Keep reading.
It says, the Lord shall count when he writeth of the people that this man was born there, Salah.
Born where? Born in Jerusalem, right? And you can start right there. So they'll use this to say, well, you see, there's heathens that are being born in Zion. There are heathens that are being attributed as being a part of Jerusalem, being a part of Israel, right? And guess what? That's correct. But why? Why are these heathens being a part or being attributed like they live amongst Israel? Because in the end times, they're going to have to come and learn of our laws, and they're going to have to do the law, statutes, and commandments of God. And once they do that, it's going to be as if they're living in the land. It's going to be as if they are us because they are living like us, right? Azan, give me Micah 4. We're going to prove that. Micah 4 from the top.
Just
watch that.
This is Micah chapter 4, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and
Mm-hmm.
people shall flow unto it."
And people shall flow unto it, right? Unto what? The mountain of the house of the Lord. Keep reading.
It says, "And many nations shall come and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, into
Hmm.
it says, into the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem."
So that is why it is if the heathens are living like Zion, because the law shall go forth of Zion. They have to come to Zion, they have to come to Israel to learn of the Most High's ways, to walk in His paths. It's prophecy. That is what's going to happen. I know we harp on the heathens getting destroyed, and we're gonna have our foots on our necks. All of that is very much true. We're gonna have them in chains. They're going to be walked around like a damn dog. That is 100% facts. But there's also going to have a time where all of that is over. They're just living, right? They're just living. They're at the bottom of society and they're following what we say, right? That is prophetic as well, right? And that is what we see in Psalms the 87th chapter, right? That's it. We just see the heathens finally getting compassion from the Most High, which He will have compassion on. We're going to read it too. He will have eventually. He will have compassion on the heathen, but that's way after His wrath on the heathen, right? So give me famous verse. Give me Isaiah 56. Right. Let's tackle that. This is another scripture that insinuates a spiritual Israel or a replacement theology of sort. Right. Start from verse 3, read down to verse 5, Baba Kashab.
Con. Isaiah 56 and verse 3. It
Mm-hmm.
says, "Neither let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, The Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, Behold, I am a dry tree."
Right. And this stranger here, this is an actual heathen. This is a stranger, right? Keep reading.
"For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and
Mm-hmm.
choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant."
Now wait a minute. So now in verse 4, it's talking for thus said the Lord unto the eunuchs, right? So what is a eunuch? For those of you who don't know, right? A eunuch is someone who cannot have children, either by castration, either by abstaining, or either by something physically within them that they cannot produce children, right? They're sterile, okay? And actually, I like to prove as much as I can when I say things. So let me just pull this up. Right, an unused root meaning to castrate, right? Um, this one doesn't flat out say it, but yeah, but basically it goes into being castrated, and I know when you read the letters of Paul, he lists the different eunuchs, and it's not only castration. There's also, like I said, you abstaining, and there's also you physically not being able to produce children, right? So that's what a eunuch is. So keep reading out.
It says, "Even unto them will I give in mine house and within
Mm-hmm.
my walls a place in the name better than the sons and of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off."
That shall not be cut off, right? So they say, well, you see, the eunuch's getting an everlasting name. The eunuch, well, first of all, you know what I'm saying? Being sincere, right? The text does not say if that eunuch is an Israelite. The text does not say if that eunuch is a heathen. That's number one, right? That's number one. Number two, knowing that a eunuch cannot have children is simply saying that when you obey the Most High, when you finally get the blessings and get the kingdoms, it's gonna be better than if you had children. And then he likens it as to somebody who cannot have children, still receiving better blessings than if he had children. Like that's the point that the Most High is trying to emphasize. It does not mean that you could be a spiritual Israel now, right? That's madness. That's madness, and it's just not reading of the text, right? And then the rest of this chapter is going into like what we read in Micah chapter 4. Okay, there's going to be a time where the heathen has to come to us, have to come to our God, give sacrifices, right? What's that? That's Zechariah 13, right? Or is it 14? 13 or 14?
I'm not sure.
Hold on, let me make sure here. I believe it's 13 though. Let me check. Hold on. Let me make sure. No, it's 14. It's 14. Salakia. Same that we see in Zechariah 14, right? The heathens have to come to us to learn of the Lord. All right, so that's that. What's another place? Where did it go? Ezekiel. Give me Ezekiel 42. No, 47. Salakia. Give me Ezekiel 47. Start at start at 22, but we're gonna go back up to 23. But start at 22.
Khan is Ezekiel 47 and 22. And it shall come to pass that ye shall divide it by lot for an inheritance unto you, and to the stranger that sojourneth among you. Shall beget children among you, and they shall be unto you as born in the country among the children of Israel. They shall have inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel.
So they'll say, well, you see, when we live amongst the Israelites, that's what tribe we're from, right? You know how we'll say, okay, well, if you're spiritual Israel, what tribe are you from? Oh, they'll say, oh, well, whatever tribe that I live with, that's what tribe I'm from. The Ezekiel 47 and 22, right? But there's flaws that's problematic. First problem, verse 21. Azan, can you read verse 21 for me?
It says, verse 21, so shall ye divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel.
So first off, is according to the tribes of Israel, right? So that is the context. Is all of these lands are being divided according to the Israelites, right? But then once we go down to verse 22, it says, you shall divide it by lot for an inheritance unto you and to the stranger. So what stranger is this one, right? Because the other stranger in Isaiah 56, that one was Nakar. That one was heathen. But this one is Gar, right? And Gar, when you see Gar into the in the scriptures, can be in reference to an Israelite or a heathen. Now, Nakar is only in reference to a heathen. You'll never see Nakar being referenced to an Israelite stranger. That's only to heathens. But Gar is interchangeable, right? Gar is just a sojourner or a temporary and have a newcomer, right? So when we look at the context, it's saying that these strangers is someone that is new, that's coming and being amongst us, right? So where do we see Israelites having to be placed with the vast majority, or Israelites who don't know God, Israelites who don't know what's going on, being placed within Israelites who actually know the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Where do we see that? Oh, that's whenever we have to go out and gather those from us, right? So Azan, give me Isaiah 66. Let's prove that right quick. Let's prove that we're gonna have to gather our brethren, and these brethren are gonna be the strangers, the Gar. All right, give me Isaiah 66. And where is it? Start at verse 19.
God, Isaiah 66, verse 19. It says, and I will set a sign among them, And I will send those that escape of them into the nations, to Tarshish, Pool, and Lud that draw the bow,
Mm-hmm.
Baal and Javan to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles.
Hey man, so we have to go and gather our people that have not heard of the Most High. They have not seen His glory. They didn't see Babylon get destroyed. They didn't see the 1/3 and the elect get beamed up on chariots. They didn't see that. You know what I'm saying? But these people, we're gonna have to go out and we're gonna have to gather, right? Keep reading.
It says, verse 20, and they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses and in chariots and in litters and upon mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, said the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of the Lord.
Exactly, right. So it's prophetic. What we read in Ezekiel 47 and 22, those lands that we're dividing it amongst Israelites or stranger Israelites who do not know the Lord, who did not know His fame. Those are the strangers that we're gonna have to say, hey, listen, we just left Babylon, right? We're in the wilderness. We're receiving the law from Christ. This is what you need to do, or you're gonna get this axe, right? This is what we're gonna have to do right before we get into the bond of the new covenant, right? We have to go out and we have to gather our people. So Ezekiel 47 and 22 is not talking about strangers of the heathen that's going to be amongst us, and now we have to divide our land amongst them. No, it's talking about our brethren. We're not going to know who this brother is. Some may look like us, some may not look like us, but guess what? We still have to divide our land amongst them like they're one of our own, right? And just to emphasize on the point of gar and stranger, all right, give me Leviticus 25 and 35. Right. Let's see, just to prove that gar can be in reference to an Israelite stranger, right? And we know the context of Ezekiel 47 is talking about Israel. So let's prove to you that when you see stranger, if it's gar, it can indeed be an Israelite, right? Read verse 35.
This is Leviticus 25, verse 35.
Mm-hmm.
And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee.
So it just called a brother a stranger. It just called a brother a stranger. It says, if your brother, and then later on it says, though he be a stranger. Let's look at this word for stranger. Is it gar? It's gar. 8:16:16. The exact same. Sojourner, a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights. That's what gar is. So whenever we go back to Ezekiel 47 and 22, especially knowing the context is about the tribes of Israel, that's how we know that that stranger there is not talking about heathens that have an inheritance of our own land. That just doesn't work, right? But let's double down on this, right? If this is the case, right? Let's say everything I just said is out the window. Where else in prophecy do we see heathen inheriting the land of Israel? You don't. Matter of fact, you see the opposite. Give me Jeremiah 12 and 14. Let me pull it up. 12 and 14.
Right. Jeremiah 12, verse 14. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh against all mine evil neighbors that touch the inheritance which I have caused my people Israel to inherit. Behold, I will pluck them out of their land and pluck out the house of Judah from among them.
So prophecy is that the heathen are supposed to be plucked out of our land. The Most High is supposed to take them and they're supposed to get gone. So if he's supposed to pluck them out You're telling me now, according to replacement theology, he's going to put them right back in? And then in the same verse, he doesn't even like them touching our inheritance, that touch the inheritance that I cause my people against all mine evil neighbors, right? The prophecy is he's going to pluck the heathen out of our land and then pluck us out from among them, which fits with prophecy of us getting gathered. So how are they going to have an inheritance of our land? They cannot. Matter of fact, read the next verse.
Verse 15, and it shall come to pass, after that I have plucked them out, I will return, and have compassion on them, and will bring them again, every man to his heritage, and every man to his land.
Whoa, wait a minute. The Most High said after he plucks them out, then he's going to have compassion on them and then bring them again, every man to his heritage and every man to his land. So how are they getting an inheritance of Israel's land when the prophecy is that the Most High is going to send them back to their own land? It doesn't make sense, right? It just doesn't make sense. So, going back to Ezekiel 47 and 22, it is not talking about the heathen inheriting the lands of Israel, right? So it again, the scriptures or the Old Testament scriptures that quote unquote support replacement theology, man, it's like a sand house. When you really analyze it, it doesn't stand up, right? So let me get I'm gonna get one more, right? Because we matter of fact, go ahead, get Zechariah 14, right? Let's I know I mentioned it, but let's read it, right? Because it still goes into Ezekiel 47 and 22, showcasing that in the end times, the heathens are going to be in their own lands. They're not a part of Israel, because if they're a part of Israel, then we should see prophecies stating how they inherit the land. They don't inherit the land, right? So give me that Zechariah 14 and 18.
God. Zechariah 14, verse 18, it says, and if the family of Egypt go not up and come not that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles.
And where do you have to keep the Feast of Tabernacles? You have to keep the Feast of Tabernacles in Jerusalem. So if these heathens have to come up to the to keep the feast, that means they're not there. Meaning they did not inherit the land of Israel like an Israelite is supposed to. Meaning they did not replace Israel. They cannot replace Israel, right? So that's that. I want to get one last one, and this one is kind of like the I don't want to say it's the trick bag that's used, but it is. If you don't know what is going into, it could trip you up, right? And it can seem like heathens can become Israelites. Okay, give me the book of Esther, chapter 8. And look at the bottom. Give me last verse, 17.
Esther chapter 8, verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
And in every one, Slaki, it says, and in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
Yep, that's it. Close it up. Close it up. The people of the land became Jews. They became Jews. That's spiritual Israel. No, brother. No, brother. No, brother. Right. So let's analyze this. So some context, right? If you ain't read the book of Esther. So at this time, she basically finesse the situation to get the king to arm the Jews against the heathens that are coming up against them through some shenanigans, right? So once the Israelites got armed, or specifically the Jews got armed, hey man, they ain't want the heathen ain't want no smoke. They ain't want no smoke, right? So when you get to verse 17, they were scared. They were scared of us. So because they were scared of us, what did they do? They became Jews, as the scripture said. But let's look at this, right? When it says they became Jews, does that mean that they physically became an Israelite? Or does it mean something else? Right? So let's go into this word. Let's look at them. Because the cool thing about this is that you see both, you see two Jews in there, right? You have those that became Jews, which is Yahad, Ace 3054, and then you have of the Jews, which who the Yahad was scared of, which is Yahad Yath. Well, you know, Amalek says Yehudi, but it's really Yahudah, right? So let's look at Yahad and let's see what it says for Yahad. It says to become a Jew, right? Become Judaized. To Judaize, right? So all that's going on, and then once you look at Yahud, where is that? When you look at Yehuda, it says frankly just Jew. But when we look at Yahad, it is Judaize, to become a Jew, right? So basically what's going on is they became Jews, or they became Judaized, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. They didn't become a physical Jew. Even, let me see if I can, let's see, is this the screen I'm sharing? Let's look at this. Judaism. Watch this. Look at this. Judaism, Yahud, right? So it's like Yahad, but this is Yahud. It's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. So when we go back and we look at Esther 8 and 17, it says, and many of the people of the land became Jews, they were Judaized, which means what? They started to follow our laws, statutes, and commandments. Why? Out of fear. And that's really a foreshadowing of the future, because in the future, it's going to be the same way. They're going to get down with the get down, not because they want to, but because they're going to be scared out of their minds, because they know if they don't, they're going to be put to death. Right? So, you know, that's the first part of just analyzing replacement theology, seeing what it is, what it's talking about, scriptures that seem to support it, right? And then eventually we're going to look at, you know, just blatant scriptures that just deny all that and emphatically prove that Israel is still the chosen people of God. Israel still has the covenants coming to them. Israel still has the blessings coming to them. And the only thing the heathen has coming to them is woe and destruction. That's it, right? And to think any otherwise, man, especially if you believe in replacement theology, hey man, you're anti-Semitic. you are against the chosen people of God, man, because you say that God is a liar. He did not make an everlasting covenant with Israel. Now it's to everybody. It's to the goy. It's to the Gentiles, right? And that's just not the case when you actually read the Bible and you analyze, right? So Zon, you got anything you want to say? Any scriptures you want to bring out, or just anything you want to go in depth on, talk about? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, not like you said. I mean, anyone who believes in supersessionism, replacement theology, you know, they make God to be a liar.
They make him be a liar. Yep.
All the prophets we went into, Isaiah, Zechariah, Micah, all these prophets will be false prophets based off of their understanding, because it goes against replacement theology. It doesn't add up. But that was what I had.
Con. And then I see somebody in the chat is asking about basically how to get in contact with us. So, brother, what you can do is you can contact the email. Hopefully, he's still in here, right? And then I'll put it in the chat. But you can contact the email. It's Sakari Houston 1715 at Gmail. Okay. So if you want to get in contact with the camp, if you need, basically like want to know where we're gonna be, or you want to just come and hit a word at the camp, you just hit that email and somebody's gonna respond, right? So I just put it in the chat. See if I can pin it. Yeah, I just put it in the chat, right? So what's that, brother Don Breed? Yeah, it's in the chat, all right? So come chop it up, man. Come to camp. Come to camp. Learn with the brothers, build with the brothers, man, and Lord willing, if He puts it on your heart to prospect, man, we need it. You know what I'm saying? We need more people to do the work, right? Christ said that the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few, right? So the Most High puts it on your heart to go to the highways and byways and feed His sheep because you love Him. You know what I'm saying? Then by all means hit the email. I don't know Dallas's email, but obviously you got the the Instagram, the Facebook. You know what I'm saying? So there's many different ways you can get in contact with the brothers if any of you all want to do the work and hey, want to get with the movement, right? So in closing, y'all be on the lookout. We have a new website that's going to be dropping pretty soon. The brother Azam been working on it, man, and it's really dope. It's really dope. It's really live. So once that comes on the air, once we go live with it, check it out. It's gonna have a lot of information on it. It's gonna have our links to our videos, and it's just gonna basically give you a nice little snapshot of what I'm saying, what we teach, what we believe. So whenever you sharing it with people, they can just see, okay, this is what these brothers about. Let me look more into the information, right? Music coming soon. I know y'all saw the music video with the brother Shayazar, Run Out of Time, man. That joint was hot. That joint was hot, right? We got more music coming on the way, man. We backed up on a whole lot of music. I know we said it a while ago, but we about to start pushing it. All right. So y'all stay locked in and stay tuned to Sakari Space City. Stay locked in and tuned to Sakari Dallas, man. DTX's War, and just check out Sakari as a whole, man. All the channels, Sakari Seattle, Sakari Miami, right? All of them, Atlanta, the main camp. Just check out all these brothers, man. All these brothers is doing the work of the Most High, man. All these brothers deserve to be saluted, and you know what I'm saying, send a prayer up for them or something if you can. All right. So, hey, man, with that, if we don't got anything else, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to the Most High God, Yahweh. And we do so in the name of His begotten Son, Yahweh Shah Hamashiach, who the word ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, who was indeed a black man, right? And I say, Shalom.
Shalom.